Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, we seek your cooperation to have your mobile phone on silent mode. Thank you. A very good afternoon to our honorable speaker, Mr. Jeffrey Chiu Santiong, Group Chief Executive Officer and Executive Director of Paramount Corporation Berhad. Our moderator, Dr. Teddy Lian Kok Fei, Assistant Professor, Faculty of Accountancy and Management, University Tunku Abdul Rahman. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you. Without further delay, ladies and gentlemen, let us pass the mic to our moderator, Dr. Teddy Lian.
Dr. Lai Soon On, Director, Division of Community and International Networking. Ms. Lim Guat Yen, Director of the Center for Corporate and Community Development. Mr. Jeffrey Chiu Santong, Group CEO and Executive Director, Paramount Corporation Berhad. Senior Management of UTAR, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed an honor for us to have Mr. Jeffrey Chiu, CEO and Executive Director of Paramount Corporation Berhad, with us today to share with us his ideas on the topic entitled Leap of Faith from Executive to Entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is important because it drives innovation and economic growth, create jobs, bring strong social impact to society, and great personal fulfillment to those with entrepreneurial qualities. Mr. Jeffrey is a strong believer of taking the bold step to lead the way as a pioneer in new industries. He demonstrated this pioneering leadership by setting up an online peer-to-peer lending platform in 2017, when going digital was only in its infancy in Malaysia. Under his leadership, Paramount Corporation Berhad consistently demonstrated growth and profitability. In his own words, doing what we do well with purpose, passion, and a positive attitude can drive great long-term results and will place us in the better position for the future. Without much further ado, let me invite Mr. Jeffrey Chiu to deliver his talk, after which we can have a Q&A session.
Thank you, Dr. Teddy. Can you hear me from the back? It's good to be here among younger people that is definitely half of my age or even less. If I could reverse and just ask the genie to give me something today, it's really reverse youth, okay? And youth is the one that I will ask for today. But I guess we are all at a different point of our life that we will ask for different things from the genie. Okay, let me introduce myself and also the title. The last time I spoke was to a group of graduating ACCA cohorts through the ACCA Association. And that was nearly about 10, probably 15 years ago when I was about 44, 45. Okay, so when I asked to do this presentation, it requires a lot of work to think through what have changed and what will be relevant to this. And I came out with this idea of not just talking about how undergrads or graduates can pursue your career to become just a CEO, but I wanted it to stretch one more level to as an entrepreneur. So that's where the title came about. 100% who tried again, 98% will fail. You keep on failing, but there will be people who's going to make it. And you could be one of them. You could be one of them. Okay. So there is no such thing as the only way. Now, the only rationale that I'm sharing with is from my own perspective. And I feel that this is actually a safe way that if you do collect and acquire all your strategic assets and all your key competencies, if you fail in a 20 years, you have actually moved up in the corporate ladder. So there's a safe, soft landing or a safety net. Now, if you go and start doing business on your own, if you fail and you become a bankrupt, so you may have a risk that you may not recover, right? Or you start the second time, third time, you finish not just your own savings, but you finish your parents' saving as well, right? And you cannot start. So this is one way for me, and also I find it a safe way. Okay. Now, after 4 years, you definitely cannot stay in your job forever. I'm a very strong advocate of not letting my staff stay in any job position more than 4 years. You have to move. If you don't move, at least you must do different things and take more projects or more assignments to increase your competencies or build your network in different roles. So after 4 years, I was in Citibank for 11 years. And again, in 11 years, I was in 6 jobs. Okay, here it only shows the major roles, but actually I was in 6 different departments, 6 different jobs. And that's where I acquired a lot more knowledge. I acquired some of the knowledges are listed there, but there's tons of other things that are not listed. Like, for example, I've been a person that has very strong understanding of tax laws, tax planning, audit, but very little experience in terms of global economics. Now, I was in Citibank for 11 years, and in Citibank is a global international bank. We always have training sessions that we talk about what could go wrong to a country, macroeconomics. And we always love to talk about South America. South America default, and IMF, World Bank has always rescued them. Okay, now you have Pakistan and Sri Lanka and Turkey having the problem, but in the past, it's always Argentina, favorite, year in, year out. And the inflation rate of Argentina and South American countries, it could be 100% a year. Okay, so able to understand and learn. If you join a local company today in Malaysia, you will never understand what do you mean by hyperinflation in South America. But being a foreign bank, you have a chance to learn about the economics, global economics. I mean, this is just an example. Then, of course, you also have experience in terms of different jobs, learning about risk management. How do you manage risk? Okay, risk from a banking perspective, risk from many perspectives. Okay, risk from you getting injured as well, cybersecurity risk, every other sorts of risk. You learn that kind of stuff. Then also financial products. You know, when you are in your first few years in working experience, you probably know saving account, a loan, a car loan, a mortgage. But when you go into a banking fraternity like Citibank, you learn about derivatives. You learn about very sophisticated foreign exchange options, swap, project financing, okay, loan syndication, all sorts of different products that how the bank structured so they can give to the customer, and then how do they create different investment products, deposit products, and all sort of trade products. And basically you learn, again, acquire a lot of knowledge. There are a lot of other things that you learn in terms of knowledge, but on the other hand, not just that you are acquiring knowledge, at that stage, you need to actually start to build your core competency in terms of management and experience. If you can be very good as a speaker, able to speak and charge everybody 20 ringgit or 50 ringgit, well, you can go on live doing that, okay? But would you want to do that just, able to earn 20 ringgit from each of you guys? So I'll earn 400, 800 ringgit for this session? Or you prefer to able to coach 10 people or 50 people to able to do the same thing, and then you take a portion of their fees. What do you want to do? So if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you want to be a successful CEO, you need to contribute through others. And that's all about management, leadership management. And that's where I start to acquire that slowly by having 2 person in the first job in the first 4 years of Pricewaterhouse. When in Citibank, that's where you get a chance to manage more people. And to a certain point, I have a chance to manage over 40 people in the division at the age of 34 or 33. So that management skill helps you to interact. How do you get people to perform and how to listen to people and so on. Now, of course, it comes together with experience. And these are the core competency that you need to acquire. If you can acquire quicker, it's better for you. So the world is not about how much you know and how smart you are. You can be very smart, create the best product in the world, but if you cannot communicate, who is going to buy your products? Right? So this part is actually very important, and it continues on to a certain extent. And then I wanted to go into the last part at the bottom. It's also important not just to acquire the knowledge and then sit and wait for things to happen, right? At certain point of time, you realize that you cannot acquire any more knowledge or you cannot acquire any more competency. That's where you need to lead, okay? And how do you lead? Sometimes people say that we are trapped in our jobs, in our roles. Sometimes we say that Malaysian is in the middle income trap, right? How do you move to the next level, high income? You need first at the early part of your job is to acquire knowledge so people can know that you can use that knowledge to apply in your job. And that's why people will take you to the next role. But along the way, at certain point of your life, I don't care what you know, okay? I want to see results. I want to see outcomes. You may know everything, but you cannot apply and you cannot communicate, you are not going to get results. So at the second stage of your career, you start to think about what can you do for your corporation, not what you can get from the corporation. No, you are in UTAR. What can you get from the university? What are you giving back to the university? It's fine. At this stage, you're not giving back. Good point. Yep. So there are certain things you can give, but in the corporate world or in the business world, you need to give back something, and it is in the outcome of the results. But once you get that, you're contributing, and that's where, again, the next leap, where you can actually move to the next level. If you keep on acquiring knowledge and you keep on trying in your job, but you're just not delivering and no outcome, you will stay where you are. So in terms of management experience, I just wanted to share that as you progress, you just progress not just in terms of the number of people that you manage, it has to be exponential in a way that you are not contributing to one person. You're contributing to people and the people contributing to people. So you have 1 layer, 2 layers, 3 layers, to a point that you get 6,000 people working for you. Right? If I can collect 20 ringgit from all of you, and then I have 6,000 people doing the same thing today, I'll be pretty rich, I'm already an entrepreneur. So again, there is different complexity in managing more people, because when you have more people, you have a lot of people issue. You have sexual harassment issues that's going to come out. You got people stealing money from the bank, right? You got people having funny activities in the company. You have people who are non-performant that you got rid of. So again, that complexity creates challenges, but it's also strengthen your ability to manage these people. And if you can get out very well, that's where you can contribute to 6,000 people. The part about networking, I wanted to say something about that is because you can be very good in your own company, but if you don't have people that you can call on to buy something for you, to help you, to collaborate with you, you are not going to go very far. So, so networking is something that you really need if you want to be an entrepreneur, especially because you need to get networking in terms of how you can get people to work with you, to get approvals in regulators, in government offices, you need approvals. In terms of association and all that, to get training, you need to get a lot of network out there so that they can actually be called to do things to buy from you or to sell for you. And networking does not confine to just within the industry. If you're working in a bank, you can network all you want among your fellow bankers in the same industry. If you are in Citibank, you can network with Standard Chartered, you can network with OCBC Bank, you can network with Maybank. But is that enough? Because ultimately, you need to network with other industries. And then you need to network not at your level alone. You need to network upwards and downwards as well, because that's the only way for you to really able to execute things and create the outcome that you want. The last point that I wanted to spend a bit of time is on financial capital. Now, how many of you guys understand what it means by compounding at 28%? Nobody there to attempt. Do you think it is possible for one person in the room in the next 20 years to compound your income, salary, and bonus by 28% per annum? And if you got your calculator, can you run the numbers for me and see whether it's possible or not? Who thinks you can compound by 28% a year for 20 years? Nobody believes that. Where is our potential entrepreneur of the world? Because if you can make 5 million a year or 10 million a year when you're 20, in 20 years time, you are compounding at 28%. None of you believe that you can make 10 million a year? Come on, guys. Why not? There are so many entrepreneurs that came before us that make 50 million a year within 20 years of their career. It's possible. It's possible. But how do you do it? I put it down is because I've done it. The talk that I did was that I looked at how much I made in the year that I presented when I was 46, 47, and I look back at 20 years ago, looking at my EA form, which is an income tax form that you display, and you look at the compounding effect, it was 28% a year. From 500 ringgit as a audit clerk, okay, in PricewaterhouseCoopers, to a level that you compound 28% to become the income of the CEO when at the age of 42, 43 in a 20 years horizon. 28% compounded non-stop. Now you can compound, you can increase your compensation by 30% or 40% one time of your career at one time. Then the rest of the year, you plateau 1% every year. You're not going to get 28%. Right? If you got a great job suddenly and you don't do it well and you don't improve yourself, you're going to be stuck there. But after you are stuck there for 4 years, whatever 50% or 70% increment that you got from the 5 years ago, you will realize that the company wants you to get out of the job because and then your income will go back to zero. So you need to really think about how do you invest the income that you earn, and also remember the compounding effect, but also remember that you need to compound on a yearly basis your personal growth, your own net worth. And what's the measurement of the net worth? The measurement of net worth is What's your business knowledge? What's your management skill? What's your network? And finally, what's your reputation? Some people come to any talk, before they talk, it's 25,000 US dollars. What is it? Because you don't even know what he can talk about. But it's a reputation that you actually paid for, right? Right? So what's your worth in 5 years down the road? What's your worth 10 years down the road? What is your worth 20 years ago? It's all about what you have acquired from the university, what you've acquired along the way. I have seen people who say that I got 25 years of experience. What kind of experience? I was a relationship manager when I joined the bank. What are you now? I'm a relationship manager, but I'm a senior relationship manager. So how many years experience do you have? I have 25 years. I say you got 4 years experience to me. You got 4 years experience because by the time 4 years, you are a competent relationship manager, managing some list of corporates, some account. But the experience never really grow. That's the same experience again and again. That's why 4 years, move on. Not move on, take different role. That's why university is only 4 years. Okay. If we allow you to work for study for 30 years, guess what? Okay, you're building knowledge and the same knowledge again. So finally, when you have accomplished results and you can move to different organization and keep on building all the competencies, the next step is results are not important, not enough. You need to build businesses. Okay, you need to build businesses, meaning that you cannot say that, okay, I'm doing a good job, I can provide this product and deliver it at a good time. I can actually do a very good sales presentation. I can get closure. Half of the room of people agree to buy my products. That's great. Okay, that's outcome. That's results. People love you for it, right? But is that enough to become a CEO? Is that enough to become an entrepreneur? To have your income compounded at 28% per annum? Sorry, that's not enough. You need to have the ability to build businesses. Building businesses is more complex. It's more than selling product. You can sell product to half of the room, okay? But you sold, but you don't know what's your cost of delivering the product. You're losing money constantly. I have a lot of entrepreneurs who comes to me and say that they want to raise funds. And their model is that every dollar that they earn, they need to incur another 110. That's not a business, that's charity. That's charity, okay? We are not in social charity segment at this stage. So you need to really have to look at building business. So for me, in my experience in the OCBC Bank, I am actually get an opportunity to build businesses, meaning that the company in OCBC when I joined was 1,800 staff. When I left, it was 6,000 employees. So what did the 4,200 employees did? They cannot be in the same thing, doing the same thing again and again, right? There are new businesses that have been created in the organization. Okay. And that's where we talk about job creation. You are all here, okay? There are different purpose and different objectives. But once you reach and attain certain objective, one of the things that you can really do for the country is create jobs. You cannot create jobs by delivering results alone. You cannot create jobs by just being a CEO. You need to be building businesses as an entrepreneur or building businesses within your company, and you call yourself intrapreneurs. Okay, and that's where in the organization OCBC Bank, I have the opportunity given to really build new businesses. And that's where the job creation of 4,200, and if you create 4,200 jobs, how much income tax that you have given to the government? Each person 10,000 ringgit of a salary. Imagine that. And that's the purpose, that you got to find purpose in your career, passion in what you're doing. So I spent a fair bit of time here, and I just wanted to conclude that after OCBC, I was paramount. At that point of time, I already partially an intrapreneur and become an entrepreneur where I started to put my own money, not using OCBC's money anymore, not using OCBC capital, but use my own financial capital to start my own business. Together with the fact that I'm still an executive. So I'm a intrapreneur, executive CEO, and also an entrepreneur at the same time. Okay, that's playing very safe. Again, I'm not saying that this is the only route. You can do it differently, fail and fail and fail, and become very successful. But you have to make the call. Next slide. Now, if you do have achieved in acquiring some of this and all of that, right? Then you are reach a point where you become the head of the business or the CEO of the company. It may not be a bank with 6,000 people. It may be a 400 people manufacturing company. If you become a CFO, then you may become the CEO of a small manufacturing company. Then where and when is the point that you want to be entrepreneur and how? Now, I think one of the things that from my own experience is that when you start to experience flat learning curves, that's one sign. You try within your company, you try within your industry to try to find learning curves. Now, learning curves, not necessarily knowledge. I'm talking about learning curves in the 5 aspects. You'll find that you're not earning more money compared to 28%. That's also one part of the learning curve that you're missing. So that is one sign that you have to really think about. Is it time? Second is that you must also check and see whether do you have the experience. Able to produce results by getting this group of people to buy my products today after this call, after this talk, is creating results. But it's not an entrepreneur or intrapreneur. You need to have some sort of experience in building a business internally or externally and make it fail. And then finally, you have the confidence to make it success. And that's where you need some element of that before you want to venture out, because you're no longer venture with your company's money. You're no longer intrapreneur. You are entrepreneur, meaning you take your own equity, okay? Another part where, to me personally, being an accountant by training and also an accountant by practice, as well as also a banker, I'm far, far more risk adverse than anybody in the room. I think I'm far, far more risk adverse than anybody in the room. Because of that, financial security is important. So where is the point that you say that I have accumulated enough financial capital to able to move into this route of entrepreneurship? It is the time where you realize that you do have enough to actually reserve for your retirement in the event that you don't have a good job after that. So that's another part of a safe route. But I'm not stopping any one of you guys to go on a different route. But again, this is a safer route. Then finally, very important factor is, what is it for? Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Some people say, I want to be an entrepreneur to make money. I think it's not a very smart idea. Actually, you can make more money as an executive at a very high rank level and take very, very little risk. Okay. I'm advising you this, okay? Join a big company, become the CEO or the deputy CEO or the head of whatever. Stay there, you can acquire more financial capital without much risk. An entrepreneur needs to have a passion. What do you want to change in this world? What do you see the wrongs of this world in your community, in the university industry, in the manufacturing industry, in your hometown? What do you really want to change? If you have the power to do that. And that's where entrepreneurs always take that passion and do it. If you don't have that passion, you are only chasing for money, you will not be very successful in the first place, because you must always have vision. You must have mission, and then you must have vision. And the mission, in the way, have to be for the better of the community. If you want to produce things that are for not the better of the community, you got to think twice, because it's not very sustainable. If you want to build an education business, very sustainable. And that's what Paramount did over the last 30 years. By starting off KDU College, you've heard about it, and then the University College, and so on. And if you want to build houses, that's a good passion to put roof under people's head. And good property, quality, and that's passion as an entrepreneur. If you want to build a fintech business, are you doing it for profits, or you're doing it to help people? For me, I always tell people that the banks have not able to reach to a lot of small SMEs in Klang Valley, urban areas, and have no opportunity or chance to reach people in the rural areas at all. How do you provide some sort of financing for them at those areas so that they can have some capital to start their business when they need it together with their own equity? So you must have passion. Today, I would say that I'm doing more than the government. Okay, I personally has lent money to 3,000 old SMEs myself, and I have created a platform where we allow other people to help to actually lend to this community. But in the meantime, also allowed a lot of investors to achieve returns that are quite effective. So I'm 1:43 now, so I got 15 minutes to wrap up. So I just wanted to make sure that you all understand that you don't have to be an entrepreneur. You can make a good income if you are just a CEO or a business head. So next slide. This is a P2P, peer-to-peer lending model. I wanted you to understand that today, you don't really need to rely on the bank to actually lend money to SMEs or small businesses. Entrepreneurs and all that, while you have to get your parents or your own saving to go to build businesses at different stage of your life, and there are 3,000 people that are doing exactly what I'm saying now. And I hope that the 3,000 people are having some of the key competencies, some of the strategic assets. If they don't have, it will be very sad because they're going to fail. Okay. So in a way, I hope that they will understand the risks and rewards. And in this P2P lending platform, basically, the SME is the issuer, the investors is the investors like me. I am the one sitting here as one of the 1,000 of investors that support 3,000 over SMEs as an issuer today. I'm sure that even the government doesn't have direct investment in this sort of SME today where we are able to reach, because we are lending to Brinjang, Tanah Rata, Langkap, Jerantut, okay? Everywhere that you can name off, and I cannot remember, and I don't know, we are there because of using technology. So basically, I'm going to move to the next slides to share with you from the journey of being result-oriented and achiever to building businesses. How do you apply all the key competencies and the strategic assets? Now, you think that you all went to, you are in university. A lot of people say that whatever you learn when you go to work cannot be used, right? Yes, partially true. Partially maybe not true. Some of them could be applied. But the areas that I talk about are things that you will pick up along your career. And you'll be surprised if you actively learn how to apply it and then refine your learning. It will become very important and make a difference between a success and a failure of your business. So the next slide. This is a journey of 2017, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And we started. And if you look at the journey over the last 5 years, where the business have grown to a point that it has actually funded more than 200 million of loans to SME, and also have turned into positive cash flow and profits after 5 years. How did that happen? Okay, and where would be the leverage of the core competency and strategic assets? Number one, when you want to start the business way back in 2017, what do you need? You want to develop a product, you want to build a business model, you want to build value proposition for your company. What do you need? You need knowledge. So I have to draw all the knowledge from the last 21 years of working in the banking industry to develop a product for that is viable for both the borrower and also the investors. Secondly, when you start a company, you got to get approval, licensing, and all that. And there are laws that you need to figure out how to maneuver around or make sure you're in compliance. Again, I have to look back in terms of how I learned about tax laws and go and look at money lending license, the rules within money license, the rules, how you can advise regulators to change the act to facilitate the business model to be created in the country. You need to draw back the experience of 30 years ago, right? But you need to refine it. It's not tax laws, but it is Money Lending Act. Next is Financial Service Act, and so on and so on. It's not because I know all these acts very well, but I know how to read it. I know how to find the sections that are relevant to a new particular act. When you want to start a business, call the government, right, for capital? No, you need to pump in 5 million as a minimum capital to set up. So who is going to give you money? Not my parents, not the government. You have to fund it yourself. Now, of course, if you don't want to put 5 million on your own, you call friends. And that's where networking comes into place. You need to have good networking that you can reach out to be partners, to be co-shareholders. And that's where networking is so important. So when I started, I have 4 or 5 other partners that are willing to come in. Not just that they provide capital, but they also provide thought leadership and also knowledge to build the product and the business and value proposition. And that's where the networking that I have built over the last 20 years, different point of time, helps to really make the business able to take off. Once you take off, you think you have done a great job. But again, to really get it commercialized or get it traction, you need to actually do more things. You need to refine your product. For example, if you look at the 2019 principal protection up to 30,000 per investor, how the hell do you guarantee 30,000, right, as a platform? I spoke to one of the directors this morning of banks, and he asked me, how do you guarantee? You know, I said, there are ways to do it, okay? And we have guaranteed in the last 4 years, and we have not had any claim. You only have a claim of 600 ringgit from the 200 million that we disbursed, right? So again, you need to have more knowledge to enhance your product as you go along. Then, of course, you know, along the way, you also need to find financial investors to be investors to support the loan that you are lending to the SMEs. Then as you go along, you realize that, hey, I need to expand into different countries. Even the fact that you need to start the business in day one to get the license, your reputation is important. When we decided to expand to Singapore, we thought of buying a license. And we said that it will cost us 1 million ringgit or Sing dollars. I can't remember the same. I said, why should we buy when we can apply for the license? Because I work for OCBC Bank, which is a Singapore-based bank, and I have engagement with the Singapore monetary authorities. So why don't I apply on my own? And I'm quite confident that with my reputation, I could get a license. You work along, you got the license. See, you need to build your reputation. How do you build your reputation? You need to build a reputation in terms of integrity of how you do businesses, how you conduct yourself, how you perform results, how you comply in certain things. So that's just within the company, but also build your reputation in terms of working with association. I'm building my reputation as we speak here. Do you realize that? So you need to build your reputation along the way, internally and externally, cross industry. And that's where the authority cross industry, cross countries. So because of my exposure and engagement with the Singapore Military, they are comfortable with my name and they allow us to get the license. So that's reputation in action. And then finally, of course, network. If you have nobody in Singapore, how do you start a business? Network. And finally, the last part, where how do you turn around? Now, this is the last part of the bits of story. We have not been able to break even for nearly 4.5 years. And I said that when we submitted our business plan to the Security Commission, we said that we'll be profitable in 3 years, but we didn't. But we can say that, hey, there's COVID that affected us for 2 years. So we can give ourselves the room to say by 5 years, we can be profitable. So we are 4.5 years. We say that we need to make it profitable. And by accident, the CEO of the company, this company resigned to join Grab Digital Bank. So I said, well, you can see it as a collateral damage, a serious derailment. But if you can look at it in a different way, it's a blessing in disguise that this is the first time as an entrepreneur, I could be really running the company on my own. So from last year, June onwards, I took charge and take 30% of my time to run the company together with Tracy here. And within a period of 6 months, we said that we will double the business volume. We'll solve all the impediments that's causing the problem why we could not scale up. And by the time in 2 months, we are already there. So the second half of the year, every month from second half of the year, we are profitable, we are EBITDA positive, and the last 3 months, we are cash positive. So how did I leverage? So I went back, deep resolve in terms of pulling back my managerial experience, my leadership skill, because now I'm executive in managing the business. So as you can see, if I didn't have the financial capital, the networking experience, I cannot be working towards operating the company on a standalone basis. I could actually put money as an investor. I could put my strategic thinking in there. But if you want to make things happen, you've got to have that leadership, the experience, and the managerial capability to motivate people, to incentivize people, to drive people to deliver. So I do hope that you would now understand that why you need to acquire those competency and strategic assets, and then how you will need them. You will need them in your future roles, whether as an executive, as a CEO, or as an entrepreneur. With that, I think that's my last slide, right, Tracy? Yeah. So with that, thank you very much, and I'll pass it back to Dr. Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey. Ladies and gentlemen, let us give a very big round of applause to Mr. Jeffrey. On his very inspirational and eye-opening talk, covering very important things like key competencies, strategic assets, compounding at 28% per annum. Not something that everybody can do, unfortunately, even though actually all of us want to be able to do this. And also building businesses, another thing that many of us want to do, but we are not able yet to do. But maybe from today, we can learn something and we can start to build our own businesses. So I would now like to invite all of you who have been listening very attentively to put forward your questions for Mr. Jeffrey to answer. So this is moving into Q&A session. We will stop, of course, at 2:30. At 5 minutes before 2:30, I will inform you the last question. So in order to ensure that we have a very smooth Q&A session. Mr. Jeffrey will answer your questions one by one. So if you can just put your hands up and I can signal for you to start. Question time. Yes, please. Can you identify yourself? Human quality. I mean, the personality that you look for that is important when trying to go into
Thank you for that question. That's really a very relevant and that is a question that should be constantly posed to all the private equity funds in all over the world. Okay, so that they don't have situation where they invest in this Sam Bank Fried whatever who was in the crypto and then he ran away with more than 10 billion ringgit, right? We can ask this to Temasek in Singapore, you know, what did they look at in terms of, then you can ask Tiger Fund as well as Sophie and all that. It is actually a very, very difficult answer. Okay, in my job now, we are also allocating about 100 million ringgit in terms of investing in startups, entrepreneurship. So we have a lot of people coming up with this business model. Okay, it's important to make sure that the business model is solid. But the second most important, assuming you pass the business model, is the entrepreneur and the CEO. And the thing about CEO is that a person that is really good in building the business model and starting the business from day one may not be the same person that's capable of building the business to the next level and make it a success to commercialize it. So it depends on what stage you are and looking at entrepreneurship. So I would look at entrepreneurship, somebody that must be very hungry. Okay, hungry for success in terms of financially success, or hunger in terms of trying to build a cause that they really care about. But of course, that cause must relate towards financial so-called profitability ultimately if you are a capital commercial type of enterprise. But if you are not commercial enterprise, then it's a different. So it must be hungry, must be passionate. So I think these are the two very, very important key. You don't have to be very smart. Okay. You don't have to know all the knowledge. Okay. But I think entrepreneurship, you must have the hunger and the passion to do this. Some people say this morning that I was giving talk to the financial institution directors of banks, and after I step out, two person came to me and said, I'll be waiting for a while to have a conversation with you. These are the FIDE Forum guys. And after that, we have a chat about the qualities of directors of financial institution of a digital bank. So I give my views and he texts me and said that after that, Jeff, that short little conversation is so powerful in terms of the energy that you speak about what's needed. So that's where we talk about the hunger and the passion. Thanks for the question. Very good question.
Thank you. So there are two very important words when you leave. One is hunger, the other one is passion. Passion. So you don't be greedy for something. You want the money, but then you don't have the passion. You cannot do it. You can't. You cannot be an entrepreneur. So if you're just looking for money and you become an entrepreneur, most likely you will fail. That's basically what it means. Second question.
Ladies and gentlemen, please use the microphone provided when asking the questions. Please keep your questions short so that more people can participate.
So how do you manage two business, two different, totally different portfolio?
I don't honestly, my portfolio compared to a lot of other CEOs, entrepreneurs, the extent as the complexity is not that much. But I can tell you, okay, that I have a lot of time. You ask me to talk, I can accommodate very easily. You want me to come and talk the next month, I can do it. I have a lot of time. Why do I have a lot of time? Why do I have a lot of time? Because I invest in people. I invest in people that I find that can do the job very well, where they are strong at, and I complement them in areas that they are not so strong. So I pick people, I find people who I can contribute through, and I complement them in areas that they're not. So that's how I can find a lot of times that I don't have to do it myself. So that's probably the answer, is that look at the people around you, the people that you want, the future people that work for you. They must be people that you know that can deliver, and the people that's suitable for the organization. And then you will have a lot of time on your own. I travel 3 times a year overseas. Thank God for digital. I can still in contact. So 3 times a year, I will go out, okay, and for 2 or 3 weeks. And people on the ground will still run the business much better than I'm around, because there's less disruption, less new ideas that I'm pushing them. They can actually deliver the numbers. Thank you.
So next question. Yes, please.
Please use the microphone.
Blackout. Just press here. This one.
Hi.
Okay.
As I see from the slide just now, that you are the CEO of your own company, which is fantastic, right? My question for you is, as a student, how do you think is the first way to start investing? Because as a student, of course, your capital and your funds are limited. For a student, how do you start investing?
That's the last session that I talked to the ACCA graduates who are starting to earn income. I have a session talking about how do you build your wealth through investment, but also I added on how do you build your wealth through incremental increment in your own competency financially. So it's a very long topic. There's so many different investment options available. I think the question would also be phrased in a way that do you need to save or should you spend? Some people say that if you don't spend now, the things that you're going to have will be more expensive and you can spend less. But I strongly believe that you should save a portion and invest along the way. And there are different options of saving. There are very safe options of savings by putting in fixed deposits. There's a very risky type of investment where you can go to cryptos and all sorts of investments that are not really approved and regulated. So I would urge the people to make sure that you invest, make sure that it's legit, make sure they have a track record. And I always say to people that if you don't know what to invest, keep your money in ETF because they give you 6% return. I'm not announcing a 6% dividend this year, but I'm telling you they have been doing about 6%. And that's a very good, and it's tax-free as well. And Malaysia has the most generous tax provisions in terms of allowing you for social contribution to your retirement, because it lets you deduct both from your salary that you get from EPF is tax-free. When the income that you earn later from the investor 6% is also tax-free. So EPF will be a very good way. But you have excess money from EPF, you may want to invest. If you've got appetite, you can invest in other higher risk equities. But equities are quite challenging these days in Malaysia. Peer-to-peer lending, this is my personally passion and feel that something needs to change in Malaysia, because we have been peddling unit trusts, a lot of investment schemes that really not viable, and it's like a money scheme. So peer-to-peer lending is actually lending money to the SME directly. So you cut off the bank, you actually receive all the profits from the bank, but add on, because of the technology being applied, and we are much more efficient than the bank, there is more returns. And that's the reason why in the peer-to-peer lending platform, we can attract investors to invest because they are looking at double-digit return, whereas ETF is looking at 6%, really commendable. But if you do have some risk appetite, some ability to keep it longer, then a 10%, 12% return will compound you in a long way. Now, I always tell my salespeople that if you put money in a fixed deposits at 3%, in 20 years, 3% compounding, 100,000 will become 180,000. If you invest in a compounding growth of 14% per annum, 100,000 will become 1.6 million. One is 1.8 times, less than 2 times. One is 16 times because of the compounding power. So similarly, I talk about 28% compounding in your career. Can you imagine if you keep on compounding 10 years or 15 years, your total compensation on a yearly basis from there on is very, very significant. So that's my answer to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Very interesting question answer to your question. And before I pass to the next speaker, I have one person online. I think it's Dr. Siapichuan. The question that is from our dean of Faculty of Accountancy and Management. A very deceptively simple question actually. What or who inspire you? What or who inspire you the most to be who you are today? So I think it's a more personalized question, so the answer will be very deep and soul searching.
Yeah, I think that's a very challenging question. I believe in God. Okay, I believe that we are subjects of a greater being out there, and for us in this short time of our life in this world, we need to do better to help the people around us. Okay, and I really like one time OCBC has this slogan that say that help people succeed. Okay, so you want to make sure that in the world that you can actually reduce poverty, reduce unhappiness and all that. So what are we doing every day to create a positive impact in the society? So that's, and you got to start with yourself. If you are nobody, you have no competencies, you got no strategic assets, who can you impact? You hardly can impact yourself. So you need to actually make sure that you could actually take care of yourself and be successful. And then when you're successful, how do you make sure that you create 4,000 jobs in your role? How do you create financing availability for thousands of SMEs across Malaysia? How do you create these entrepreneurs to become successful and make profits and hire more people, create jobs for the country, raise the income level of the country, pay a lot more taxes to help people who cannot? There are people in the room not going to be CEOs or entrepreneurs. Some people have different born. They say everybody is born fair. I'm not too sure, but different people will succeed in different levels. But some people will need help, and that's where we all need to create the pie bigger so that those portion of it can be taken to help people who could not succeed, or they are doing some things like the nurses in UK, working 3 jobs, 4 jobs in NHS just to help people from COVID. So how do we do that? We got to contribute positively in a way, whatever way that we can, so that the world become a better world.
Okay, thank you. Very, very inspiring answer. Every one of us needs to contribute, to others, to society, to our university, and in that way, of course, the world becomes a better place. Next person. Question. So many of you here. Surely you must have question.
Tracy, you can ask a question to me.
Yes, come.
Not only having the strategic management, of real estate, like because this is a real estate, then how it will help you, how this new knowledge actually helping you to venture into the business that you are venturing in, or any new opportunity that you can see in the real estate field?
Okay, I'm trying to understand
Yeah.
the business, but okay, the question is relating to how I can apply the knowledge and experience to make the construction and the real estate business much more efficient. I think one of the reasons why Paramount has actually looked at other industries, other businesses, especially digital, is because we believe that property development will be very much a brick and mortar business. Now, how many of you guys have heard about ChatGPT? Okay, very good. So it will mean that whatever that you have learned, you don't need to learn because you can ask ChatGPT anyway. Okay, anybody have actually used ChatGPT to prepare question for me to answer? So you had knowledge, but you didn't apply it. Okay, so for us, we find that technology will become every part of our life. But fortunately or unfortunately, property development is still building brick and mortar. So we will be probably the slowest in terms of embracing technology in a big way. Okay, so but then it will be in different parts of the process of building a property. Technology will come in through marketing, through sourcing of land, through construction design. Is already some of them already in there. So the idea is to make construction much more cost effective, but yet meet all the safety requirements, meet all the functional requirements, but also reduce the time frame of construction. And that will able to create property at a much more lower cost, but yet still suitable for the use. So that's something that we all in the business of real estate needs to really think, how do we do that, and how we should, together with the government, spend and invest enough in R&D to really do that. But most of the property developers will be very much focused on the next quarterly results, and that's where very little is done on that area. So I guess that's where we all have to think, and there's a passion to make things better. I think I can hear you. Yeah.
Academic staff here. So most of the academic staff here will probably have a PhD. We call it permanent head damage. Okay. So what is your advice for academic staff to be entrepreneur? You can see it in the industry in general. Most of the CEO, they are not doing their PhD. Some they're getting more and more popular. But what will be your advice for a PhD holder to start their own business? Because I think we are trained differently. How we are trained is like we are supposed to do the things to perfect so that we can publish the paper, we can come up with breakthrough research and all that. But all this quality and skills, they are not really matched with the expectation of the industry because you are supposed to do things faster. So what will be your advice for academic staff to start their own business? Thank you.
Very interesting question. Hope that we don't lose all academia to entrepreneurship, because you are really, really badly needed to provide the knowledge, okay, for the people to advance to the next stage. But I do say that a couple of things that was mentioned very much, other than acquiring knowledge, is how do you really build your external networking, and also the experience in terms of engaging with people so that we can more of an action team development, so that you can actually create something and develop something and then do a business. A business is actually, everybody talks about business. What is really business? Something that you produce that you can sell, okay, whether it's services or items, right? So it's about a selling process. So if a PhD holder can train himself to be more convincing, okay, every time the PhD talks about certain subject, can be convince people so well, then that kind of capability and capacity can really help to cover one part where you can get people to buy something that you want to develop or you want to make. Now, on the other hand, other than having the knowledge, how do you use the knowledge to develop something? So again, you don't go out there and think, what do I want to build so that I can create a business and be an entrepreneur? You must have something that's passionate that you want to do. There's a gap in the market. There's a shortage of certain things, and you want to be there to feel and solve the pain points, and create a service or product. And that's where how, when we applied for the digital banking license 1.5 years ago, I asked the team to go and look and talk to your friends, families, relatives, and everything. What are the 50 pain points that they have in terms of dealing with the banks? And then that's where we will find a solution. And that's the product that we will sell to the public and charge them a fee. So as a PhD holder, what are the things that really can be better in this world? And something that better is one thing. But if you want to be in business, you got to see whether if it's better, but if people are willing to pay something for it. If it's better, but I want it free, then you have to think about something else. Thank you. Good question. Thank you. Yeah,
Yes,
Tracy, go ahead.
Okay.
I think that's a very valid question, because I joined a very, very big company, but it was a Pricewaterhouse, is a big company, international company. Then if you look at my career, I've been always with large multinational companies. So that actually really helped to build the reputation as well. If you can survive in Citibank for 5 years or 10 years, they say that you are solid as a professional. If you can pass ACCA, you are as solid in terms of all your accounting standards, right? So where do you join? Big company or small company? It's a very difficult debate. I prefer, if I would advise my daughter, is to join a big company, right? But obviously, my daughter does not agree with me. She will join a small company. Joining a small company has an advantage in a way that you can do and learn a lot of things. But the thing is that when you have a small group of people and you interact with a small group of people, just imagine you have 5 people to interact on a daily basis compared to 500. Which one will acquire more knowledge? Which one will acquire more network? Which one will acquire, okay, financial capital is different a bit. So I would still advise people to join the bigger company if you could, unless in the bigger company, your role and your position and your area is very, very small and very restrictive, then you join a smaller company. But basically be out there and learn more, do more, and that's how you'll be successful in your career. Good question.
Next, I have one online question. This one is a bit sensitive, this question, but it's also very interesting. What is the biggest failure that you have faced in your life, especially in your business? That's the first part. What is the biggest failure that you have faced for now in your life, especially in your business? And the second part is how do you get through it?
How do you get through it? Okay.
How do you get through it? That's part 2.
Okay. The way that I would like to answer this question, if you have listened to my presentation carefully, the way that I carve out the process, how I do it, is a very safe way. So if you ask me whether is there any major failure in your career or in your life, I don't think there is that major. Okay, so I don't have the experience to say that how do I step up. But I do have challenges along the way, but usually in a way that it doesn't completely able to derail me in a big way. So planning is very important. We were in an offsite last weekend, and we do a lot of team building events. And one of them is to build a twin tower, okay, 4 different teams using paper. And when they say start, I see everybody start rolling papers, start doing everything. I say that, how come there's nobody planning what's the design that you want to build a twin tower so that you can carry how many marbles that can hold? Nobody planned. I said, I will plan because I am a property guy and I know what kind of building to design. Not that I'm an expert, but that's the thinking. I always plan. And I always look at 20 years ahead. What would be the world be in 20 years? And how do I plan and prepare for the next 20 years? So I'm not able to answer this question, but if you do plan well, and then you have mitigation plans along the way, if it doesn't go well, then you will not have a big disaster. But sometimes you still do. Sometimes natural disaster does happen. And if it does, I'm glad and I'm grateful and I'm blessed that I don't have that. And if I do come across that, I do hope that I'm prepared for it because, life, there's no certainty, and just take it as it comes, and be just thankful that you have already enjoyed 57 years of good health and good career, and every new year is a blessing, it's a bonus. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have 5 minutes. So depending on whether the question is long or short, we can do either 1 or 2 questions. Anyone? Anyone at all? Blonde, very black, and a very successful career, very little mistake. These young people, I see many young people with a lot of ideas, a lot of innovation. They set up startup companies, but strangely, they don't last very long. So a lot of startup companies in this world, they will start good, but they don't last very long. So in your opinion, what is it that is wrong? Generally, based on your experience. Tiba-tiba datang sini.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
that's
no.
the toughest part
Oh, tak ada.
for investors to really look at which of the people will be successful. And we know very well that out of the 100 startups, okay, perhaps 90 will fail, 10 will be around, and 2 or 3 or 1 may be very successful. Why does it happen that way? One of the things is people don't think through carefully what is their business proposition, the value proposition, and their business model. Value proposition is one thing. How do I create something that you will buy from me, right? Business model is bigger. If you are buying from me, does it mean that I can be profitable at the end on the long run? No point you can buy from me. Everybody wants to buy from me, but I keep on losing money. Okay. So in a way like Grab, okay, taxi, now they're charging very high. They want to make money now. So you must have a business model that's correct and a good value proposition. But that is just part of it. The other part is the people, the leadership, the personality. I think most of the time, do they have enough network? You got to ask that question when you want to invest in a startups. Do you have enough financial capital yourself to outlast a decent period? Do you have enough knowledge in the business? And then finally, do you have enough experience in terms of different parts of the stage of the company? So in a way, I took a lot of time to think through to put this presentation in place. If you do have 60% of what I just said, chances are you have a higher chance of making it. But if you don't have all of that, you can fail the first time, then you invest the same person again, he failed the second time, third time, but maybe the 10th time he'll be successful. Okay, but that's the reality.
Thank you. So the last question is online. This question is, may I learn from you how you can look ahead 20 years? It's a rather...
I told my wife a couple of years ago and said that one day I will never die. I will never die because with the technology that's going to happen soon, all the things that has been recorded now, the speeches that I made that goes to the media, the reports, the business, and the conversation in my phone, all this will be hard coded somewhere. So if you put AI to read all this, I'll be alive forever because I have only one daughter, okay? And I do not want her to be alone in her life, okay? So the only thing that I do hope that I live forever. But if I do physically die, I do hope that one day, which I think the technology is there, will be there, that I will be always there to provide her advice. Because the AI will use all my thinking, all my rationale, all my emotions that I put forth and make some advice to her. And of course, watching a lot of movies is important. Read a little bit and then see the past and how things have projected today and see how things can project in the future. So that's how I keep on constantly looking at that.
Thank you. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our session today. It is 2:30, and I now pass the session back to the MC.
Thank you, Dr. Teddy Lian. And thank you to Mr. Jeffrey Chiu for your valuable sharing insights. Mr. Jeffrey, could you please remain in front? Thank you.
Okay, they will call you.
We would like to invite Ms. Lin Guat Yen, the Director for Center for Corporate and Community Development, to present a certificate of appreciation to Mr. Jeffrey Chiu. Thank you. Ms. Lim, please escort Mr. Jeffrey to his seat.